Well, that's what happens when you mess around and find out, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. How you been?
Sleepy. Probably running on consecutively, probably 4 or 5 days in a row. Probably combined about 15 hours worth of sleep, about 3 hours a day.
Well, man, let's we won't take up a whole lot of your time because that's not good for you. You need to get some sleep, man.
No, 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 no. I've turned into Bird basically because Bird would used to do. He would just he'd be using so much time that he would just cat nap throughout the day. So now I kind of understand what Bird used to do back in the day. But the reason why he was like that is because he was just so amped up and energized about the day. I'm a lot more motivated now than I've probably been in probably about 16 years.
Man, that's you got a full house now. I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's having two kids now and doing a job that I used to do back in '07. I feel like getting a second chance at it. So I feel motivated. And the guy that I'm training underneath, he's a good guy. So he's doing it the right way. Not only is he busy, but he's also very patient. So it just self motivates me more and more and more to do more. And I think Jill can notice a difference. I've got a lot more initiative than I've had.
Well, man, I think I was reading an article a while back. Anyway, so you need sleep. So
Oh no,
make sure
no,
you get
trust
plenty
me. I will be getting sleep. I'm gonna
because
find it a way to slow down and get some sleep because
I think
he's not going to be as busy. Well, no, he may stay busy, but when I get turned loose on my own, I'm gonna be at not as busy as him, so it's gonna level off.
well, good, man. Good. Make sure you get you
Yeah,
some rest when it does.
yeah.
Um, I've been stuck in see what past the week before. My capacitor went out in the outside blower on my air conditioning unit. So
Jeez Louise.
that was a couple of days. Then the following, like a week later, because it went bad on a Sunday. And Sunday, I noticed the blower was off. Um, checked the breaker. Of course, it was the breaker. I went out there and turned it on, and then it would get hot again. And got to where it only stopped 5 minutes. They installed a new fiber line. My neighbor is taking advantage of the fiber we have here in my now, and the crew that did it, they were nice enough to damage my line. So I'm really just enjoying the stages, no internet, no air conditioning. No, uh, so I'd have to leave or walk or do something, man, because I want to sweat all over the bed, the
Well,
couch.
yeah, it's
So
ironic you got to get out there and get out in this heat too, man. I mean, that's just crazy.
I mean, I say out there. I mean, I was like going into the car and driving away in the air conditioning.
Okay,
Just,
I got
no, I was, yeah, that's what I would do to cool off. But then probably about,
you.
I don't know, about 1:30, that's when it got cool enough to where I could like open the windows up, cut off like the screens. They don't really make houses with screens anymore.
Yeah, they
Um,
don't.
so like if there's any light, especially out here in Wetumpka, um, any light attracts bugs. You don't have screens. You leave a couple lights on and leave the windows open, you'll wake up and there's a daddy long legs swinging from the fan,
Ugh.
three
Yuck.
beetles flying, in formation around your room. So it's like
Yeah.
they cut off all the lights and I can open up the windows. But
You,
yeah,
you
man,
gotta
it's
be careful though. You got some wooded area around you. I think those black widows are running around too, man.
well, there's there's all kind of stuff running around where I'm at, man, and it's those spiders don't really mess around with. They ain't gonna mess with me. Uh, I've got a cat, and
Okay, now that
that's
you're fine,
pretty
yeah.
good. And the only house spiders I've actually come across are the wolf spiders, and they actually hunt the venomous spiders. So, and they're non-venomous themselves. The ones that hop around, they're huge too. They look like mini tarantulas, man. I don't know, one. They're huge. and they're hairy and um, but those things are the ones I come across the most, and they're harmless. They don't hurt human beings. They don't have no
Well,
bite.
that's
So
good. Well, as long as they're taking care of the poisonous ones, that's all that matters.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So other than that, man, how's so you never went into detail. And maybe this ain't a good time. We'll maybe talk about that later. But so it sounds like you are liking your change now, man. Got a little.
Yeah, yeah. I got a lot more pep in my step, a lot more motivation. The stress isn't it's a different type of stress, and I've always I think there was a part of me that wanted to do mortgages again, because when I look back in time, I've always had that kind of that itch. And so at the end of the year, my boss, my really my old boss, my current boss, he asked me, you've been doing a great job with us for so long, you know, now it's come, you do so much with us, you kind of at a place now where you got to choose. Do you want to do this or do you want to do this? And so we just were talking about it, and I was like, well, I don't know if you knew my history prior to coming on board with y'all, but I used to be a mortgage guy. I used to do mortgages. I was like, well, no, I didn't know that. And then we got towards the end of the conversation, and I asked him, is it okay if I just take a week to think about it? What about what's next? He said, yeah, sure. So I took a week. I thought about it, came back to his office, and I basically pitched him on the idea. I was like, well, I think if it's okay, I'd like to do mortgages because we've got a position open. We haven't had an actual person in that slot consistently for a while. And I think it's something that I could do because I used to do it. He said, you know what? I haven't really thought of that. So let me call the person that's over mortgages. So he made that call. The guy came down into town. We went to lunch and we just talked about it. And at the end of the day, he was in favor of it. He went to his boss to talk about it, and his boss, because I've been with the company so long, his boss knew my name, and he was like, "Yeah, I think he could do that position." And I had some other advocates locally that were like, "Yeah, I think he would be a good fit for this." And you know, uh, January that decision got approved. May is when I got the paperwork. June is
Mhm.
when Bishop was born, and June is also when I actually started working in the position. And last month I went down to Tallahassee to train with the guy I'm training with, and that's how I am where I am now. And it's awesome because this guy he's an animal. I mean, he does so much stuff that I'm not bored. I'm always learning something. And the good thing is that he's very family oriented himself. So if he knows that I'm doing well, or if I need to do something, he's like, man, you don't need to get like approval from me for stuff. I mean, you getting out of courtesy, you're telling me what you're doing, but I'm not worried about you. So basically it's kind of like a free reign, learn as I go, and it's really helping me because it's just adding another skill in my belt for what I can do down the line for myself. And it's kind of opened up my thought process of, okay, it's kind of giving me hope in a way of like, what am I going to do next? Honey? Hi, honey. Daddy, did you get Harry baby? Huh? Dad, get my Harry baby back. Well, I don't have them. Well, maybe I do. Dad, do you have Harry baby in that car? Can you say hi to Uncle Blakey?
Hello. I got to get a little bug and bring her to the house, man. I got her this weekend again. We're going to the lake tomorrow.
uh,
But
Daddy, he's not talking about. He's talking about his little bug. Hold on one second, honey, okay?
I don't really I don't know. I don't really lock the door around my child. I don't really. She's always welcome to come talk to me about everything, and Lord does she. So
And that translates later in life. And that availability is what kids don't understand at the time. but they will understand later in life is what they need. I remember Pastor Chris did a message. Yeah, I think it was the last year or maybe 2 years ago, where he actually took a poll from the Highlands kids, and he just, I think it was from various age groups, from five up into the teenage years, where they asked like a series of questions, and he went and he read out like the answers to a series of questions, and you can, without saying their age, you can tell like how old they were. But one of the things that children really found was important was the attention and the time that the parents gave them, especially in the teenage years. Even though they wouldn't express it that way, that's what they really wanted more than anything else.
Oh yeah, yeah. We maybe I can kind of catch you up on what's going on. I can't really go here, um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, uh, because Little Bug knows about your podcast. She saw it, so I told her I was, on YouTube, and she's been checking it out. It's cool, man. Um, but yeah, man, I tried. Yeah, she's about to be. She'll be December. She's pretty much a teenager now, so we'll find
How
out if
she'll be 11 or 10?
she'll be 12 in
12.
December.
Good Lord.
So yeah, I'll find out if I've been giving her enough time and attention, because I mean, I think I have. We're pretty close.
Right.
I think for the most part, I'm confident she tells me everything I need to hear or I need to know.
Right.
I certainly don't want to know everything. She
No.
can tell. She can certainly go to her mother. Her mother's probably got some more expertise in being a woman than I do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
I
um,
I would venture to say she's got a lot more expertise.
yeah. So I tell her, some things I'm like, hey, you can talk to your mom about that. I'm cool.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Especially if something starts. I can see it now. Daddy, daddy,
yeah.
I'm like, ah, let's go see your mom right
I mean,
now.
I even told her. I said, your mom about some of this shit, man. Gosh, because I know she does it just to get a little rise out of me.
Yeah.
When she
Yeah.
like 3 and 4, so when she'd sit there and pester me until I would say I can't anymore. When I would say that, she'd go, "Yay!" So, so
Yeah.
that's part of her. She's gonna poke the bear. I mean,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
that's what she does. I don't. I'm pretty consistent because I don't get mad or lose my patience with her. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably the only
And I
person on the planet that I can with. I've never been able to do that with anybody else. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's interesting how like when Evie was a baby and Bishop is a baby, when they cry, for me it doesn't bother me. It doesn't like for I'm pretty sure, well, I can't speak for most people, but some people would probably, if a baby cries long enough, it would their patience would get really thin. It doesn't do that with me. They could just be sitting there like right in my ear, and then I'm taking care of whatever it is they need. So I think it's just a piece of me that can just handle it. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's I don't know, man. Like even before I had kids, I was always um pretty partial and patient with children. Like
Yeah, it's just kids. It's different with kids, you know.
mm, yeah.
Now, let me ask you this: do you find yourself like when you see like people in a grocery store with parents and their little kids, and they're you know interacting with them or having fun with them? Do you find yourself kind of smiling at them?
Oh yeah. I mean, I sometimes I'll
Yeah,
bust out into laughter, man. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Okay,
um, I mean,
okay.
I
At
was
least it's
laughing
not just
earlier
me,
too.
because I just don't want people looking at me like, why is that weirdo smiling at me? It's like I'm not looking at you. When I look at you, I see my kids and my family. That's why I'm
Yeah.
smiling.
I mean, usually I'm already grinning, when I see what's about
Yeah,
to happen, and mom will
yeah.
look up to me and her dad, and they'll see me just cheesing and looking at them and looking away, they know, uh, um, so yeah, no, man, there's a certain way you look. I mean, and
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
yeah, they know it's relative.
Like, Yeah,
it's a
they're like, oh yeah,
relative
that guy's a parent.
posture there.
Yeah,
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 you know, man, like especially if you're like trying to look away and you're already smiling. Yeah, they already know.
yeah.
Nah, but yeah, man, I don't ever always just I thought they were. I mean, because they say the funniest stuff. Good lord, I
They
mean, it's hilarious
do, they
time.
do. And
Um,
they just pick up on stuff so quickly, intuitively. Like this morning, she asked me, I can't remember if she asked me, "Are you happy?" She asked me, "Is everything okay?" Because I was already starting to think through my day, plan my day, and I wasn't looking at her. She was sitting behind me, but she could just feel it intuitively. She could feel it. She said, "Are you okay?" Or something like that, and I'm like, "Honey, you're very intuitive and very smart. Yes, Daddy's fine. Daddy's just mentally preparing for his day."
they know what's up, man. They
Yeah,
they'll know you better than you do. I've always
yeah.
told people that your kids learn you better than you know you. So they spend their
Which is
whole
good.
life.
I mean, it's a good guardrail for your life. You know, if you're not, if you're not a selfish, a very totally selfish person, then it's a good guardrail for your life because they can protect you from yourself and from others.
Yeah, yeah, they I mean, mine certainly has. Over the definitely made some changes to who I am because of her. Um, I mean, I think you were there for some of the more bigger changes. Um,
Yeah,
Certainly improved my quality of life. Well, I mean, it's always I guess, coming from my home, man, you know, me and my father are estranged. And I was reading an article, I think 1 out of 4 adults these days are estranged from their family. Um, and I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, how your family treated you. Are they
yeah,
toxic? Holding those
yeah.
people to those relationships and those boundaries. And I've certainly learned over the years that if my daughter includes me in her life when she's an adult, that's a privilege. And I've earned the right to be there because I was a good parent. So
And
that's the
also
kind
too, it's the
of
greatest reward you could have too.
and so yeah, and I exactly, and I think a lot of parents out there, uh, I would say a lot of people, my family especially, like it's something's owed to you. No,
Right.
I certainly. I
You're
mean, my
not
dad
even
did
promised
provide for me.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, my dad provided for me, but that doesn't mean that I have to spend the next 30 years paying him back for 18. Like
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that. If it's not a positive relationship, I'm going to walk. And
Yeah.
I think more
Yeah.
people are doing that. If it's not,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be. And when I say beneficial, I don't mean like I'm getting something out of it. Just if just toxic,
Well,
that's all I've
you
ever
can
wanted from him was
you can say
a relationship.
beneficial, just frame it in the way of beneficial as an emotionally beneficial situation, not
Right.
financially. Yeah.
Well, it's more like if if he had taken more of a mentor role, or
Yeah. Knowing when
instructed
to
and
stop
guided.
being, yeah, yeah. In fact, Pastor Robert Morris had a great series regarding families, and in it, he talks about parenting. At some point, the father has to look at their son as a brother in Christ. You
Yeah.
know, you got to stop being you. I mean, you still are to some degree, but once they reach a certain age, you are walking alongside them, helping them through those situations. And that's what
Hmm.
my dad did as I got older. Angie said he saw my maturity level get to a certain point. He took on less of a father and more of a, just treat me as an equal man, like himself. Because he had to, in a healthy perspective, he had to kind of be willing to understand that, I'm not a little boy anymore. Like physically, I'm not little anymore. So,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I know, man.
that's the key is being able to because just because you're 30 years old does not mean you act like an adult.
No.
It's yeah, it's that maturity. Once you see that maturity, like we hired on a new guy here recently, took on an assistant role, and I'm very impressed with this young guy. I mean, he's 22 years old, and I'm like, you just know when you're in the workforce long enough and in a certain environment long enough, you see enough people come and go that you just kind of that that person's got what it takes, and this kid's got something special. So I got a feeling if he stays with us for a long period of time, he's going to do well. And to your point, as a person my age, 43, he's 22. Technically, I could be his father. You know, 21-year
You could.
age difference. So I'm going to treat him not like he owes me anything, but like a mentor and come
Yeah.
alongside him and walk alongside him.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think, I mean, that's the goal, because if you're
Yeah.
around and you may have done something right.
Or,
But I certainly know that I think we've discussed this before, and I don't want to, I got to be careful because he's still around. I
yeah,
don't, I don't
absolutely.
want him. I don't need a
Absolutely.
lawsuit, so I'm going to be careful on how I word this when I say it. As I got older, our relationship did change.
Yeah.
And be honest, I'll say this: I noticed a change in him when he was by himself and when my stepmother was around. And I've
Mm,
given this a lot of thought recently. I noticed that before she came back and whatnot, he was different. And
mm,
while I was with my ex for all that time, we actually had a pretty good relationship. It was when my brother kind of went off and was disappeared and had to go on his thing for a little while. They kind of latched onto me, and I don't know if I because it's been probably the past 6 months. I've put a lot of thought into it. Um, I don't know if I told you that my dad was married to my stepmom when I was younger, and
okay. Okay. No, I didn't know that. So when did your dad marry your stepmom? So like when did your mom and your dad divorce,
okay,
separate? How old were you then?
so my mom and dad separated when I was about 9.
Okay,
No, I
so
take that back. It was about 7 or between 7 and 8 because my mom and dad
okay.
when she was pregnant
So
with my brother.
okay. All right. So you're the out of that out of the family dynamic that I know, you're the oldest.
Hmm.
And then there's your brother, and then there's your half sister.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Got it. Got it. So
Um,
basically, you're the of the next generation, you're the basically the head of the family. If you look at it from that aspect.
I mean,
Not, I mean, not, if everybody was connected to each other very closely, you would be considered the head of the family.
I guess I would lead the circle of trust as they put it in Meet the Parents.
Fockers. Meet the parents who meet the Fockers. Yeah.
Right.
Focker, you're out of the
Um,
circle of trust.
telling you, you know, I will to keep it on track so I don't forget. But no, I noticed something when I look back then.
Hmm.
It almost seemed like I would be doing nothing, minding my own business, like reading a book or playing Nintendo or something. My dad would just start in on me.
Hmm.
And I've looked back and reflected, because when I was younger, that's pretty close for me. And then when my dad and my stepmom split, it stopped.
Okay, when did they split?
So they got married when I was 12 or 13.
Okay.
They split when I was uh 17.
Okay.
Now we
Okay. Oh,
still had
wow.
them.
Okay. So you
So
were in high school getting ready to get into the Air Force, weren't you? Right around that time?
no, because I remember I didn't go in the Air Force until I was 21. So
Okay.
I
So
moved
that's
out.
that 4 year gap where you started working, doing maintenance type stuff.
I was working for the Board of Education. I was cutting
Board of
grass
Education. That's
and
right.
I was
That's right.
maintenance stuff too. I was helping out with them trying to get off the yard crew. But so there was a time when like when my stepmom and my dad split, there was actually, I didn't get bothered that much anymore. Like me and my brother, like dad would be gone most of the time and it was just be me caring for him. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would help him with his homework. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that bad when it was just him by himself. And then, of course, he still did things. I mean, because I didn't just like fist bump him and say, "Dad, I'm out. I know I haven't graduated high school yet, but I'm going to see how it is out there." I kind of
Yeah.
had to leave. I moved out before I graduated high school and
Right.
bounced around here and there to try to. I still graduated. I still made it.
Right.
But it wasn't me. When he did get mad, he was still pretty hard on me. But there was a time, I'd say maybe a month after I left, we were getting along again, and he literally never was, rude or mean or anything. He's very nice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a time where my brother never got messed with all through his teenage years, even up till about the time that Ed and Sharon got back together. Um, that was when he kind of ran into his addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And as I look back, I realize now that um, even when my brother was locked up and couldn't be there at the house with my dad and my stepmom, it seemed like there was always somebody else in the house. So to put it in perspective, she had her mother stay there for a while, a friend of hers stay there for a while, two of my dad's workers, and then my brother. Of course, they tried to do that to me there at the end, and
Yeah.
we know what happened there. That it worked out in their favor. Um, but now looking back, I realized that a lot of the stuff of I realized this because I remember before I moved into the house in Wetumpka where I'm at now, and I
Mm-hmm.
was I'd separated from Lana. I was I think this was before computer renaissance or anything. This was right before I come across you. But before I moved into this house, I reached out and said, "Hey, I need a place to crash for 2 weeks," because I was living in an extended stay on the bypass.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find a place to live, and it's pretty high. It
Yeah.
hadn't gotten any better, but
No.
I had found a place. Needed some time to. I couldn't maintain the 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 the, the extended stay because man, that was like 1,600 a month, and so yeah, I was getting taken to the cleaners on that. Um,
Yeah.
so I needed two
I wonder how
weeks so
much it
that
is now.
man, it's probably 2,100 a month. It's probably I
Yeah.
mean some places it's probably doubled because it just can't build the houses fast enough. But I asked, hey, can I crash? I mean, and I only stayed there. This was the only time I stayed after me and my ex split. I bounced around and I don't mind that. That's fine. But y'all mind? Can I crash here for 2 weeks? That's all I need. And dad was like, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
My stepmom was like, yeah, come on. And everything seemed fine. But I noticed is that second week come along, my actually it was a Tuesday night. I had to work Wednesday. Uh, it was the week that I was due to leave. That Friday I was leaving, and I had to be up early on Wednesdays because we were all day by ourselves. Because Tuesday and Wednesdays were the off days because I was in sales at the time. You don't get
Yep.
Saturdays off sales. You only get to
Yep.
midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's it. Monday's a sale day. Every other day is a sale day. If you got a sale on your
Right.
off day, you want it, you come
Right.
into work.
Right.
Um, So I'm sitting there. It was like I don't know. I don't even think it was 9:30. I was already asleep, and all of a sudden I feel the light cut on, and I look up. Mom is sitting on the couch in that room. As my daughter's playroom slash her grandparents' room, and I
Mm-hmm.
look at her. What are you doing? I'm asleep. Can I help you? Is there an emergency? And she had her drink in her hand. She was sauced up pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Oh, I was just seeing what was going on." I said, "Well." I said, other than me sleeping, that was pretty much it. The light was off. I said, I'm a 36-year-old man. You don't just walk into where they're
Yeah.
sleeping at, have a
No.
seat and cut on the light like nothing's
No.
going on. And I was like, can I help you?
Yeah.
She proceeded to kind of, well, I just see you hadn't talked to me about anything and wanted to see if you needed some more time. Because if you do, then I need to talk to your dad now. And I was like, well, there's nothing to talk about because you usually tell me everything. And I look behind me. Who are you talking to, Sharon? I don't tell you everything. Uh, like, uh, what is there to tell? I've said
Yeah.
the deposit's been paid. I'm leaving Friday. The only thing left in our my time here is for me to just drive away, and that's going to happen Friday.
Yeah.
And it was like I didn't even say. She almost seemed like I didn't even say what I said.
Hmm.
And she said, "Look, I'll just talk to your dad and we'll get you some more time." And I'm like, "Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot. I appreciate everything. Can you cut the light off when you leave?" you,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wait a minute. Did this woman just literally ignore the fact that I'm leaving?" And so I'm sitting there, and by then I'm awake now. I'm not going back to sleep. I might get up, settle back down,
Yeah.
whatever. I
Yeah.
step out the back porch, and this was in the spring, like early spring, so it was a little chilly. But my father, he loves that time of year. He sleeps the windows open. He loves it. It's that perfect time where it's
Yeah.
cool, but it's not cold.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I step outside to smoke, and I literally can hear my stepmom go in there and literally wake him up out of a dead sleep and tell him, well, to tell you he's got to stay here. My dad, of course, he's because you just woke him up for no reason. He doesn't know that. And I'm sitting there and I'm smoking and I'm listening to this crazy woman sit there and tell my father that I need more time here. And that's nothing that I said.
Hmm.
And that would be the beginning of, how I would end up arguing with her that year.
Hmm.
Because that was right before me and you had reconnected. Um,
Hmm.
so she would, that's where she would go, and we'd argued a couple of times. And of course, I had the accident, that's all history from there. But that whole year, for example, I moved out that morning. I was like, I'm not sitting back here for this craziness. So the next morning I got up and I went to work, and on my lunch break, I came home and got all my stuff and stuffed it in the car, and I left. And
Yeah.
that was my actually like that Tuesday night, Wednesday was my last day there. And
Hmm.
um, I was like, no, I'm not getting pulled into that craziness.
So do you think you figured out a reason? Uh, I think I have an idea, but
Well, I
what
mean,
is your idea?
what was going on from where I was a kid, and uh, I just don't have the heart to tell my brother. But what she was doing was using us. She didn't want to deal with my father.
She
She
didn't want to be alone with him.
Yeah, and now I think it's safe to say if she had just said, "Look, you know your dad as well as I do. Can you spend some time here with me because I don't want to be alone with him?" I would
Yeah.
have said, "Yeah." At that
Yeah.
time, I mean, I
Yeah.
know the man. He's
Right.
not when he drinks, he's not a peach. He's pretty
Yeah.
cool when he's sober. Um,
Yeah.
but these days, he's not. He's gotten, from what I understand, it's just not gotten better. But if she would have just asked, but it was the whole. There's a
Manipulation.
tone. There's a dark tone to that.
Yeah.
She is a lot like him in a sense to where she has to have power and control over other people too.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. So that's why
Yeah.
they would always get my brother back. My brother was an easy target because you mention addiction and somebody in the same sentence, and they're already going to blame the person that's associated with addiction. They don't want to really hear the
Right.
rest. That's just how people are these days.
Right.
And
And
so with my
you were the
brother,
one that introduced me to the term gaslighting because I'd never heard of the term before. And, I've since then I've kind of introduced people like when I hear certain behaviors, I'm like, hey, I think you might want to look up this term called gaslighting. Look it up and see if it
yeah,
actually fits the type of behavior and the type of things that you're going through with
mhm.
another person because it's possible that you are being gaslighted. So, you know.
Yeah, that'll make you, man, and that makes you feel crazy when somebody does it to you because they'll literally, tell you all this stuff and they'll
Right.
and things and then you'll go back and hey man, you remember when they'll be like, what? What are you talking about? What? Have you lost your? It's so as I mean, and that happened a lot to me when I was a kid, and it's
Gosh.
probably. I mean, you remember it's one of the things I had to work on personally. I always said that
Right.
when something happens, especially negative or is bad news, my first reaction is to freak out, and for a
And
long
it's
time,
it's a defense mechanism. That's what it is.
right? I mean, and man, I was the world's worst, and I was like, I literally have to just freak out because usually when I get bad news, that's the first thing I do is freak out. But if I just relax in about 10, 15 minutes, down with a cool head and I'll be able to approach it. But that was my initial reaction. Uh,
Right.
a lot of times it was that was the that was the medicine I was given to react a certain way because
Right.
the truth is bad parents don't raise men or women. They raise codependents who need somebody in order to survive, and they do
Yeah.
that because they always want somebody around. So it's
That's right.
really hard to get past that because you've got to be 17, 18 programming, and it
Yeah.
was it was
Yeah.
it was
Years.
fascinating.
Years.
Years of
Formational
programming,
during your formative years as well too. You know.
but I noticed looking back, never really alone. Like I had friends of parents, and I had friends members that always said things that uh, didn't seem like I didn't really think much, of, but they would just be like little compliments, like, "Hey, I'm really proud of you. You're doing good.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Keep your head down.
Yeah.
Life's hard, but you got what it takes." And I never thought about anything. And I go looking back, and I realize, well, I think they knew more of my situation than I really even realized. As
Yeah.
I probably was maybe 14 before I realized that, wow, uh, Sean's dad doesn't ever yell at him when he does
Yeah.
things that
Hey,
get in
this
trouble.
that's a little different. Yeah.
Wow, why does my dad yell? And I'd have friends over, and they'd be like, "Hey, man, why
Right.
does your yell at you all the time? Like you ain't even done anything. I do that every day, and nobody cares. Like it's like, oh man, that's just
Right.
how he is." And like I get
Right.
older, and I realize, okay, well maybe I was
Maybe
kind
this
of
isn't normal.
yeah, it wasn't normal. It certainly wasn't healthy. And like I said, I'm going to tread carefully on how I say things because
How you
I
say it,
certainly
yeah.
don't want any litigation. Which I honestly I don't really care because I certainly
Yeah.
can prove it. But just I don't want to fool with it, man. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed the past couple of years.
you don't need that drama, man. You don't need that
No, and
smoke.
and that's what it comes down to, really, like getting away from that drama. But coming up that program, and I learned a lot of things that helped me is being in an environment that all of, minimizing the stressors.
Yeah.
There's I don't tolerate any yelling of any kind in my house. I don't even yell in my house.
Yeah.
This is my safe place, right? So, um,
Yeah, it's your home is your castle.
exactly.
And
So,
if it's your castle, it's your castle. You control the castle as it's your castle. You know.
and I want a
Some
castle
people
that's
want the
safe.
loud and yelling and all that. Yeah, that's fine.
No,
But my castle, it's quiet. I like the quiet.
quiet. Yeah, you people walk in the door, they're safe. If somebody
Yeah.
needs help, if
Yeah.
you're in my house, you're going to be in a quiet, safe environment,
That's
and
right.
you're going to be looked after. There, you ain't got to worry about anything. When you're in my house, you're safe. And
Yeah.
I want to feel that way too in my house. So I don't allow craziness or yelling in my house. My daughter knows she's safe here.
Yeah.
That's she don't
Yeah.
have to hear the yelling. So I figure
Right.
like must be doing something right, man.
Yeah. And
But it's certainly
that's yeah, that's exactly, that's how you know you're doing something right. Because it's the aspect of, you know, if a child has to go between two places, typically, and I'm not speaking from experience, I'm just educated guess. I would assume that a child will want to go where they feel this either they have the most fun or they feel the most safe or a combination of both. Ultimately, which would be the most important is safety.
Well,
So, that's kind of what, because if you think about it as a child, Evie, came charging in, you know, just now came charging in. She does that. She doesn't know any better. She knows that this is her home. This is where she's safe. This is where, you know, she's safe. Because I've seen her outside of our home, and she she kind of just, she doesn't, again, she's 3. She doesn't know any different. When she's in places that she doesn't know, she's looking, she's kind of looking, watching, observing. Whereas when she's at home, she's safe. She's running around all over the place. It's great.
exactly, man. Yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of environment, that I certainly would have loved to have growing up, but
Right.
it wasn't the case. So I'm absolutely thrilled that I can provide
Right.
my same way. She can bust in that door right now. Hey, Daddy,
Yeah.
can I have some ice cream? Sure, baby. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get you some ice cream,
I don't.
honey.
I don't care. Yeah, get some. Get me
No.
some.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, man. I don't have the heart to tell my brother because my stepmother has gone around for years, and I didn't even know this. And she tells people how she saved me and my brother.
Well, that's and you
Certainly
know,
never said that in front of me.
no,
I'm pretty sure
no, because
she ain't never going to say that because I had a mother. And when I
right.
think of a hero, I think of a person that is willing to put themselves in harm's way without any regard for their safety or either if they're going to make it out to
Yeah.
protect somebody else. And I can
Yes.
tell you without a fact that
That's not
as
that
that
way. It
belt
is.
was coming,
Yeah.
if that belt was
Right.
coming at me, she never stopped the belt coming and tapping my
Right.
tail.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and my mama, yeah, my mama was different. She'd rear back and just punch my dad in the face. Uh, she
Yeah.
wasn't bigger
I
than nothing. So that to
yeah.
me, that's a hero. Like my
Well,
stepmother was not a
see,
hero.
and there's the big difference right there is I know for a fact that Jill would she would hurt somebody. Right? Anything
Mhm.
happened to her kids, me included, if I did anything I wasn't supposed to, she'd take me out. No doubt about it.
Yeah,
A birth mother's love for the child that they carried in their womb for 9 months. It's, unless that mother has some type of mental illness or something like that, most mothers, they will, it's even in nature. You see it in nature. For the most part, most mothers will protect their child because, I mean, you think about it, you've
yeah.
carried that life inside you for 9 months. So,
I
yeah,
mean, like
of course, she's
my
gonna.
mother was like
That's
that,
why your mom did what she did.
but she had a mental illness. She was bipolar.
Right,
She had a
right,
drug addiction.
right.
Not to mention coming from the 80s and 90s, and I think we talked about this,
Yeah, we
last
did.
time. Like the opportunities for women from
weren't
like
that
the
weren't
70s to
weren't now. Weren't
80s. I
anything like
mean,
now.
there wasn't.
Yeah,
No, certainly not. So I mean, uh, she did the best she could.
yeah.
The treatment for mental health issues is still not where we need it. Um,
No, no, it's not.
it's
It's not.
still, I
But
mean, it's certainly better than it was 10 years ago. Yeah,
I,
but it's
I
still
feel
not.
like it's a lot more accepted now, especially after the pandemic. There are a lot of. It's a lot more. It's pushed to be a lot more accessible than it was. You know.
And people, it's supposed to be, and people say that they are more accepting. But it just seems like the resources for a lot of people, man, it just the same out there. So like, and my reasoning for that is, and I've probably got a very unpopular opinion, is I figure if, for example, mass shooters, I figure if we can figure out a way to save them, we save everybody, right? And certainly it would slow things down if we had stricter gun laws. But the truth is, we don't enforce the laws we have very well now. So, without saying, that's pretty much a mental health crisis for a person to want to grab a bunch of weapons and to go into a school and do
Yeah.
things like that. They've certainly
Yeah.
accepted their fate. What drives a person to lose that much hope and just give up, but not just leave on their own to cause much as pain as they can? What drives a person to that?
It's because they themselves, and I'm just speculating, they themselves are in so much pain that they don't feel connected. They don't feel connected to anybody in that situation. You know,
I agree with that. I think that's exactly what it is, and I
they're in
think
so
people.
much pain that they don't feel connected anymore. They look at it like they would a video game. They don't see the real consequences and repercussions. For example, like I when I watch the Transformer movies, you know, we watch it. It's entertainment. It's a movie. It's the good guys and the bad guys, the Autobots and the Decepticons. Now,
Mm,
if you think about it in reality is where we are now. If we saw an Autobot standing outside, we would all freak out. So in the movie, you
and
see.
yeah, the military would probably make a mushroom cloud out of that creature. I mean,
Right. But here's
yeah,
the other side of it. The destruction that you see when they transform on the highways and they knock like 40 or 50 cars into the air and stuff like that. See, for us watching a movie, we think it's an entertainment. But if that happened in reality, that's a guy going driving to his workplace. He's going to feed his kids and is go home to his wife. That guy's dead.
yeah,
The,
he's
the
toast.
the actual scale of life and death, like and how it affects, like, do you remember what happened on September 2nd? Yeah, that was the day that Autobots and Decepticons got in a big fight. Yeah, there was mass casualties, all that. And
Yeah,
like, you remember Donnie? Yeah, like he was there. He was just driving along, and the car exploded. It's like, golly, and the
yeah.
repercussions of it, the impacts of it. It really is like it. You feel that. You talk
Well,
about that.
I think you're onto something though, because that loss of connection. I think a lot of people these days. Um, I think it's especially common for men. I'm going to say that a lot of men these days they don't have that little circle of like their two or three
Yeah.
bros. It
Yep.
ain't got it ain't
Yep.
really the as long as you got it.
Correct.
But it's that one guy that's like you talk to, and then like you
Yep.
talk to them like a month later, and they're like, "Hey, buddy, remember when you said you were going to do that thing that was productive and it'll make your life better? Why haven't you done it yet?" It's like
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
have those friends that can look you in the
Right.
eyes and shake your hand and pat you on the
Yeah.
back. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of men have traded that for likes and emojis on Facebook or TikTok. Just like you gotta have your community. You gotta have your real life connections. You gotta be able to shake hands with people.
Which is also why, if you notice from time to time, I will reach out and I actually change the group to call Guys Will Be Guys. I reach
Mm,
out to all y'all in that group
mm,
because I'm just letting y'all know that, hey, I'm still here. I'm still
right.
thinking about y'all. Whether you think about me or not, it doesn't matter. I'm thinking about y'all.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing is that the environment, what made the church so inviting to me when I came there, and what made it so inviting to Dad when he came there. He When he went there, he had been a Buddhist for so long that that's the only framework he had. It's like he was like, man, this is like going to the Buddhist temple because everybody was so inviting, so welcoming. It was a breath of fresh air. It was people wanting to make you feel connected, and you could feel a genuineness about it because it is actually genuine because we are all seeking connection. And
Mm,
so it was in those moments that it led to me becoming more connected as well. And it kind of framed a framework which I still think operate in today, and that I reach out to connect with people. And because we are in a world where the connections feel superficial, so it's a little bit more work. But here's the secret that most people don't realize, and it sounds very silly, and it's obviously when you hear it, you're like, yeah, of course. Well, the secret is no man is an island, meaning that no man is meant to be alone, meaning that I am actually stronger because I have all of you in my life. I actually level up because of
mm,
each and every one of you. Moving into this next phase of my life, the reason why I'm leveling up is because now I probably would have gotten there over time, even if it was just Evie. But with Bishop too, not because it's a boy, but I feel like it's because it's another child, it's another mouth to feed. Something inside of me just it kind of like woke up and said, "Okay,
Mm.
it's time now." And so there's like another layer of myself that's growing up. That's it's literally leveling up, and that's where obviously it's the Lord. It's giving me the strength that I at my age I should not be able to operate on 3 hours of sleep 5 days in a row. I shouldn't be able to do that. But obviously, the Lord is giving me strength and the motivation to keep going. Of course, I am going to rest. Uh, Trust me, I don't want to be like this all the time. But also at the same time, I realize that they give me strength. You give me strength. Shannon gives me strength. Bird gives me strength. My dad still gives me strength.
So
And that's the secret. Yeah.
let me ask you a question. So, um, have you noticed, like, and it's kind of connected, but it's a little off topic. Have you
No.
noticed, like, the current, like, how do I put it? Okay, so I was just kind of scrolling through TikTok. Everybody's got to have something to get
Yeah.
noticed. They've got to have this ailment, or they're dealing with this. Like, yeah, man,
Mm.
everybody is. Like, that's okay. You don't need to. It's okay to be normal, I guess. But it certainly doesn't
Yeah.
feel that. Like,
And
I feel like
it's okay
everybody's.
to it's okay to feel like you're not connected. You know, it's okay to
Absolutely,
feel that way. It's okay to feel
absolutely,
you're like you're different and you don't fit it
yeah.
because you're not the only one that feels that way. And
But I mean,
that's
you
the thing.
certainly don't have to put a dress on and wear pigtails and you know change your pronouns just because you don't feel connected. You're gonna have to get off your chest there and just bump some fists and high five a few people. Make do something. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean you have to actively it's a balance of actively looking for your community that you belong in, but also understand that we're all human. So,
Yeah.
there's gonna be people that don't like your community or that they don't even recognize your community.
Yeah.
It's a balance of the yin and yang, hot and cold, all that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all human in this together. We're all human in
Oh
this
yeah.
together.
I mean no disrespect for anybody who just don't like shaving and they can't like afford the
Yeah,
surgery and the
right,
hormones to stop that. Like I get
right.
that, but it just like the guy I seen, man, like the whole doll thing, that was a little. It just seemed over the top, you
Yeah,
know. Like
yeah.
yeah, I certainly
It
it's like
was It was definitely, yeah, and some of it is it's motivated by a monetization of things, or just that need for attention. Could be both,
mm,
one or the other, and that is a factor too. We live in an age now where you know your kids they don't need to go to tech school, they don't need to go work, get a college degree, become an attorney, doctor, or lawyer. They can be millionaires like a Logan or Jake Paul or Mr. Beast or somebody like that just by doing stuff on the internet. And that's wild. That's wild to me that you can
yeah, it
create
is wild.
a fortune off of doing something like that, or even something as simple as World of Warcraft and mining for gold and
Yeah, I'll
using
have to get to you on
monetary
that.
things.
So yeah, I have heard of guys doing that. I don't know any right off the bat. EKPs, and basically what you do is you join a raid group of guys who know the content and they've been farming it for a while, so they're well geared. And when something drops, you basically auction the item off. And so that's what drives the need for gold higher and where people actually start paying for it because some guys don't have an extra 25 or 30 hours a week to put into farming gold.
Exactly. In fact,
So they'll pay for it because they want that
yes,
item at that next auction or that next
yes,
GDKP because so and
yes.
so he's got this much gold, but if I can buy this much gold, I'll cover him and I'll get the item next time. And so
There's
you
a
have
whole
that.
economy behind it. Yeah, I love it.
So
It's
and then
beautiful.
look at it from this way. You got games like You got Raid Shadow Legends and was it Age of Empires? And those games are pay to win. Those are pay to win
Yeah.
schemes. If you've got the money, you can have unlimited turns, millions of units, whatever it takes, because you're paying for it. So
Right.
it turns Warcraft into kind of a pay to win scheme because if you got enough gold, you
Yeah.
can get whatever you want. Somebody will
Right.
find a way to get you what you want.
Right.
And so
I
that
gotta
culture
find
is
this
kind of,
clip. There's a clip where it kind of talks like that, where this person jumps into the game. It's kind of like it's real people, but they're enacting being inside a game.
yeah.
This
It's
person
probably
jumps
Viva
in.
La Dirt League, man. They do a lot of that stuff where
Yeah,
they take games and act them out.
yeah, probably. But what happens? You've probably already seen it. This person comes on and they've been experienced. They got all this grid gear and all this stuff. This newbie comes on and he just buys all the grid gear, just buys it all up.
Yeah, yeah. That's I
That little
know that's
sketch.
definitely them. That's
Yeah.
definitely Viva La Dirt. They do a lot of those things like that, like how to use a health potion. It's like just bite it the glass, bite through the glass. That's what you did. It's hilarious.
Just
Um, yeah, and the dude bites into it, and it's like the glass is everywhere, but it's not. He's like, "Oh, I feel better now."
yeah.
It's like, I've got to take my horse back to the stables. He's like, "Dude, just use your horse pocket." What
Yeah.
horse pocket? And the dude reaches in his pocket, pulls out a horse. It's hilarious, man. But man, I'm gonna get out of here. I got somebody I told I would watch a little movie with before I would.
All right.
So
Well, love it, bro. We'll,
plus we
to be
got the lake
continued.
tomorrow. So
Oh
we
yeah,
continue,
good.
man. I will.
There you go.
I'll holler at you. Hopefully, I won't go 2 weeks of being in the Stone Ages. And uh, man, so real quick though, like Roger came and did the belt last night. He put the
Yeah,
new pulley on their water pump.
yeah.
The belt ended up being bad, so Nelly had to swap it.
Now, how?
Uh,
Wait, with the belt? Was it a belt that was purchased?
yes, so we had to go to O'Reilly's to get a new belt. They held that belt up to another belt, or actually two others, and saw that it was a little smaller than the others. So they gave her a belt. Then
Uh-huh.
Roger couldn't get back last night, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'll try to put the belt on, but I don't have the tools, and
Right.
it's dark out there, and
My
I tried
God.
about an
My
hour and a
God.
half, and I finally said, you know what? Roger's coming
I,
in the morning. I'm not touching it anymore. It's hot out here, man.
yeah.
I'm just sweating.
Yeah.
And Roger came by this morning, and man, if they're like if they literally didn't roll out of the drive, and as soon as they rolled out, it like blew off. So yeah, man. So like it's been
It's something out of a
crazy,
dang cartoon movie or something, man.
man. It's like one thing after another, and I felt bad, and I was like, because I most of the night trying to help them. I was like, I was just gonna have to wait till morning. Roger has a tool, you can just slide it on. It's no big deal. I don't have that, and I'm
Yeah.
tired. And but they got it towed, so hopefully that'll be they'll get that resolved. It's kind of like my old Black Beauty when she finally gave me all
Oh, I
that
know
trouble,
Black
and
Beauty well. I know her well. Yeah.
but she ended up being the compressor on the air conditioner seized, and it locked up and tapped it on their car. So, but anyways, man, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll catch you later.
All
All
right.
right.
All right. See you, bud.